Thank you very much for joining us, and we're really honored to have this exclusive interview with His Excellency Ambassador Song Aiwa, the Chinese ambassador to Cairo. And it comes on the sidelines of a very important visit by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to China. I thank you so much, Excellency Ambassador Song, for joining Nile TV International. It has been a great honor and pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
It's my great honor.
Egypt and China enjoy strategic partnership and strategic ties, and Cairo and Beijing and the relations is considered to be a role model for Chinese-African cooperation at large.
Oh yes, we enjoy very good relations with Egypt in an all-round way. One of the very important aspects is while we are doing a good job for our bilateral cooperation, we are also doing a rather good job for the cooperation with our African friends. This is something wonderful, and I think this is something which we expect for quite a long time. Egypt is a very important country in Africa. Actually, when we are Chinese, when we talk about the relations with Africa, we always recall the start of our relationship with the Egyptian decision to recognize the People's Republic of China in 1956. That was the beginning of our relations between China and Africa. Sure, His Excellency President Sisi will be in China for his 5th visit. That will be something wonderful and extraordinarily important. And this is the second time for His Excellency the President to make state visit to China. The first state visit His Excellency President Sisi made to China was in the 2014, several months after he assumed the office as the President of the Arab Republic of Egypt. Ever since then, very important development has been made between China and Egypt with some very important features. First, there is constant high-level contacts. President Sisi has been to China for 4 times, and Chinese president has been here when he made the state visit to Egypt. Every year, the 2 presidents meet each other. I think this is something very, very important for the development of cooperation, which we described as diplomacy between heads of state.
Yes, as you've said it, Excellency, and I take from your words describing it as wonderful and also putting it that way as extraordinary visits by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to China. This is the 5th visit, and what we notice is usually those friendly relations, that cordial atmosphere, that warm reception for His Excellency the President of Egypt and China. And this reflects the bond of friendship that binds both nations, Egypt and China, and also reflects a sense of keenness on behalf of both leaders to further enhance bilateral cooperation and take it to unprecedented levels.
His Excellency President Sisi is a very good friend of Chinese President Xi Jinping. And apart from the constant contacts between the 2 leaders, I think what is important is the talks they have held between them. I think that is a very good reflection of the close ties between the 2 countries and the 2 nations. Egypt and China are countries of very ancient civilizations. We came to know each other as early as 2,000 years ago, when the Chinese first envoy came to today's Alexandria. And I think that ever since then, the friendship and the frequent contacts has been remained between the 2 countries. I want to recall the historical fact that the Chinese technology of making paper was introduced from China to Europe by Egypt, via Egypt.
Thank you, Excellency, for reflecting on the historic ties as well, because it shows and it reflects on the bond that really binds both nations, and also the people-to-people relations is very important. Exploring Egypt, the Chinese coming to explore Egypt, and also the Egyptians visiting China and exploring China as well.
Sure, people-to-people relations actually are the base or foundation for the relations between our two countries. There is increasing number of Chinese tourists coming to Egypt. Also, we witness the good number of the Egyptians coming to China. They are ambassadors of goodwill, and they are the ones to carry our relations forward. And based on the good understanding and the friendship between the two peoples, of course, our governments have made tremendous efforts to boost our ties, to keep pace with the friendship and understanding between our peoples and the nations. In recent years, rapid development has been the witness between China and Egypt for bilateral cooperation. And I think the start was the visit made by President Sisi to China at the end of 2014, when the presidents of our two countries decided to upgrade our relationship from a strategic cooperation to comprehensive strategic partnership. That was a very important step forward. Ever since then, both sides have been making great efforts, and the relations have been developed in the way that the two governments and two peoples expect. As the Chinese ambassador to Egypt, it's really a great source of happiness and pleasure to notice the very important and rapid development of our relations. Just now, you called the ties between our two countries as something very important, the enormous importance, and so on. And I want to just take some facts as examples. When President Sisi was in China, I think in the last 2 years, he was welcomed by the Chinese side and also by the world's leaders. And he was one of the very important president to attend the G20 summit held in Hangzhou. That was a big gathering for the leaders of the world. And also last year, we witnessed the very important meeting held among the leaders of the BRICS and some others, where I was so touched to watch the scene that when President was welcomed, or the presidents of various countries were welcomed by Chinese leaders. I noticed that to the right hand we had President Putin of Russia, and to the left hand of the Chinese president we had President Sisi from Egypt. Of course, that reflected the very important position of Egypt in international community. That was also a reflection of the importance that Chinese side attached to Egypt.
We're really glad to talk about our relations today, relations between Egypt and China, with a shared sense of pride. And as Your Excellency have mentioned, also the people-to-people relations have contributed a lot to that solid foundation. Today, when we're talking about our comprehensive strategic partnership, What would you say, Ambassador, concerning this sense of partnership, the features of this sense of partnership? We can see lots of dimensions, and seeing also eye to eye vis-a-vis important regional and international issues politically.
Yes, this is a very good question. And as I said just now, we enjoy rapid development for our relations based on comprehensive strategic partnership. Of course, this partnership requires China and Egypt to do a better job rather than what we did in the past years. Mm-hmm. And there are some important features to mark this development. First, high-level contacts. As I said just now, we have the exchange of visitors at the top level between our two countries, and that happens every year. This is something quite special, and this is the driving force and also guidance for our cooperation. I think the rapid development that occurred between our two countries in the last 3 or 4 years actually were made based on this very important leadership of our leaders. Second, we have the very important connection of our development strategies. We have the Belt and Road Initiative, which is very important for a good number of the countries. Egypt was one of the first countries to respond to this initiative, and Egypt, of course, wants to be a part of this very important initiative. As for China, we also want to make our contributions to the realization of the Suez Canal corridor project, which is a very important mega plan for the further development of Egypt. I can see that there are something important in common between the two strategies, as they are very important strategies for the development of nations and also for closer cooperation between nations. This is something important for our partnership, and we have been doing a great job in this respect. I just want to take one thing as the example. In the Ain Sokhna, we have the Theta Special Economic Zone, a project of cooperation between China and Egypt. We have successfully completed the first phase of the project of cooperation, which I think has been attracted for about $1 billion as investment to Egypt. Now we're heading for phase 2, which will be a much larger area, and I do believe there will be more investment from China and also other countries. Some Chinese companies are actually making their intention to make investment there. And we also have some other very important cooperation. Take, for example, for the education. We have been making a very important plan to provide more scholarships to our Egyptian youngsters. Yes. And at the same time, we are also sending more and more Chinese tourists here. And there are frequent exchange of the cultural troops, which I think they are doing a good job to have performances to the peoples. And in the year of 2016, when we have the China-Egypt Cultural Year, as many as more than 20 million Chinese who came to various theaters and the centers of culture to watch Egyptian performance. which was a great success.
It's a great success, and our relations are actually a success story that we deliver to the whole world. Talking about people to people, you find our cultural exchanges. Talking about tourism, we find this sense of exploration that Your Excellency has mentioned. And also politically, vis-a-vis the different views concerning the regional and international issues. Concerning the level of investment and increasing the volume of trade, it has always been there. China is always there with a sense of support and a sense of admiration to Egypt's developmental march. Tell us more, Ambassador, about the contribution to the developmental projects in Egypt today, the Chinese contribution, and also about other success stories. I know that there is a success story regarding the new administrative capital, for instance.
Yes, some important developments have been witnessed for our bilateral cooperation in the last 3 or 4 years for the economic projects or for some of the investment projects and so on. There are very good examples. Take, for example, as I mentioned, we have the Teta Special Economic Zone in Ain Sokhna, where we can see a good number of Chinese the business groups having made their investment there, which of course becomes a part of the GDP of Egypt. And also they every year, apart from their production, they pay their tax to Egyptian various governments, and also they provide good working opportunities to some of our Egyptian friends and so on. Besides the investment in the last couple of years, very important development has been witnessed between China and Egypt for the jointly undertaking of the large projects like CBD center of the new administrative capital, and like the rail system between Cairo and Ramadan tents and so on. They are good achievements, and I think they are just the beginning of our closer cooperation. I do believe in the years to come, we will witness more and more cooperation projects between our two countries to take place.
Yes. Ambassador, China-Africa Summit, and if we're talking about the African Union Agenda 2063 and the challenges for the future, this summit actually comes timely. And look at the headline, the China-Africa Summit. So it means that there is an eye on Africa, and Africa is at the heart too.
First of all, Africa is a node as well as young continent. I think Africa is promising because of its size, its population, and also its very rich natural resources. And besides, what is more important is that we see a new trend of development starting from this ancient continent. And Africa is becoming a vast land of investment and very good projects. China now is the #1 trading partner of Africa. And when we talk about Africa, Egypt is always a very important country in this part of the world. And we take our cooperation and experience of good performance of the friendship as one of the best examples between China and Egypt.
Definitely. It's always a win-win situation, Excellency, and Egypt, with its heavyweight in the Arab region and also with its contribution to the African continent today, attending the forum and contributing to the forum, definitely will add to this important meeting. your expectations?
Oh, sure. Egypt is one of the leading countries for China-Africa cooperation. As I said, Egypt took the lead in the recognizing the People's Republic of China in Africa, actually, also in the Arab world. So the contribution that Egypt makes to the consolidation and the further development of the ties between China, Egypt is something important and enormous. That is why President Sisi is welcomed by the Chinese side. Next year, Egypt will undertake or take over the presidency of AU. And I think that will add one more important dimension for the Egypt to take for closer ties between China and China and Africa. We believe we will do more during the Egyptian presidency as of the AU, and we will have the closer ties with Egypt and other nations to put forward the cooperation between the two sides.
Yes. Ambassador, a final question, a message through Nile TV International to the whole world as President Abdel Fattah Sisi embarks on the 5th visit to China. What would you say?
As I said, that we attach great importance to our relations with Egypt. Egypt is one of the leading countries in this part of the world. I just want to recall the very important sentence that the Chinese President Xi Jinping made during his speech in the League of Arab States. We expect Egypt to be the pillar of stability and the pace setter of development in this part of the world. We have high expectations on Egypt, and we want to have the closer ties with Egypt. And I think a closer ties between China and Egypt will be serving the interests not only the two nations, but our respective regions.
Thank you so much, Excellency, Ambassador Song Aigwa, China's ambassador to Egypt, for this opportunity. We wish you the best of success on your mission. And thank you for this opportunity for Nile TV. And definitely what we can say is forward ever, Egypt and China. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was this exclusive interview on Nile TV International with Taghreed Hussein, with His Excellency Ambassador of China to Egypt, His Excellency Ambassador Song Aigwa, as His Excellency President Abdel Fattah Sisi embarks on his 5th visit to China. Thanks for watching.